Leaders, can I tell you a story? It's a story that's near and dear to my heart. It happened back in, I believe it was 1989. I had just come to know who Jesus is, and I decided I wanted to do something big. So I married my love of baseball to my new love of the Lord by deciding I want to write a book about Christian baseball players. I had two small problems though. Problem number one, I can't write. And problem number two, and probably a little bit bigger a problem, is I didn't know any of the players. But I did have a business partner at the time who was involved with Major League Baseball, and he gave me what I considered to be the holy grail. It was a Major League Baseball player's guide. It was baseball A to Z. Everything that had to do with baseball was in there. And the first listing was something called Baseball Chapel. And I found that Baseball Chapel is a group that brings chapel services to the ballpark on Sundays because the players can't go to church, so they have Baseball Chapel. Well, the cool thing about it is I saw that it was in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. Well, I lived in Wayne, New Jersey, which was roughly 15 minutes from Bloomingdale. And I saw that there was an executive director's name. His name was Dave Swanson, and I decided, let me call Mr. Swanson. So I did. And I said, Mr. Swanson, my name is Joe Pellegrino. I love the Lord and I love baseball, and I want to write a book about Christian baseball players. Can you please help me? And he said, why don't you go ahead and call me in 3 months? I said, all right, that's odd, but I'll do it. So 3 months go by, I call him up and I said, Mr. Swanson, Joe Pellegrino, you told me to call you in 3 months. He said, why don't you go ahead and call me in another 3 months? Okay, 3 months goes by, you guessed it, same thing. So we're now 1 full year. And I said, I'm gonna call one more time. And I dialed the phone and I called Mr. Swanson and he said, why don't you meet me at the Kinlawn Spa Diner in 20 minutes? It was a diner that was outside of my town. I had shorts on, I ran upstairs, I put a suit on, I bolted out the door, I get there, and at the door is this 6'3", bald man with a scowl on his face. And I said, Mr. Swanson? He nods his head. He opens the door for me to walk in. As I'm walking in, he hands me a piece of paper. He goes to the waitress to get seated. And I'm looking on that paper, and all the names of the Major League Baseball players were on there that attend chapel on a given Sunday. I couldn't believe it. We're getting seated, and I couldn't wait for him to sit down. So I grabbed him by the back of the shirt, and I said, Mr. Swanson, why now? He said, Joe, sit down. He said, my family owned Thomas English Muffins. I was in charge of purchasing, he said. He said, Joe, I never bought the first time a salesman came. I never bought the second time. I never bought the third time. But if that guy persisted and persevered a fourth time, well, he had a customer for life. You just did it, Joe. Like, oh my goodness. What an unbelievable lesson. Can I tell you something about Mr. Swanson? He became my mentor. He got me involved in Baseball Chapel. He introduced me to people that to this day are just foundational to my life. He was a game changer for me. What would have happened if I stopped at 2, if I stopped at 3 times? Can I tell you something? Greatness is waiting for you. But we stop it because we get tired of the rejection notice. Can I tell you something about perseverance? And let's stay with the baseball theme. Well, this is a baseball bat. It's made out of wood. First thing we need to do to create this bat is we find a good solid piece of wood. We then put it on a lathe. And when we do, it gets cut so that it's in this format. Then we sand it down, make it smooth. But then the last thing that happens before that bat goes into the hands of Aaron Judge is it rolls through the flames. You see, it says flame tempered on here. Why does it roll through those flames? I mean, won't those flames consume the wood? Destroy it? No. Those flames are there to pull out the impurities that are in the wood, not to weaken it, to make it stronger. I don't know what kind of flames exist in your life and that are stopping you from being all you can be. But I can tell you this, those flames are not there to hurt you. They are there to purify you and make you stronger. They are there to pull out of you that which does not belong and place back within you all the things that you need to be who you're supposed to be. So when you think of persisting and persevering, I want you to reflect on this verse. It comes out of the book of James. It's in chapter 1, verses 2 through 8. And it says this: "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds." I don't know about you, but when you think about trials, you don't associate joy with it. But you know what? When you really look at it the right way, it truly is joy. He goes on to say, "And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. That man must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is double-minded, unstable in all his ways." What is it saying? It is simply saying this: if I put my trust in the Lord, and I really firmly believe he's leading me down that path, there is nothing that's going to stop me. And I need to believe that. I cannot be double-minded in my speech. I need to say, that's where I'm supposed to go. That's where I'm going to go. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there, and I will not quit. What in your life right now are you tempted to quit on that you know you need to rethink? Because let me tell you something. The greatness of God awaits there, in that place. But you need to get through the blockade. What's your fourth time? My fourth time was Mr. Swanson finally saying yes.